Ellie Mercer's knees hit the frozen platform. The letter crumpled in her fist. 3 words destroyed everything. Don't come. Married another. She'd sold her mother's ring for this journey, traveled 18 days through winter, left her dying father with a promise she'd send money. Now she knelt in the snow on Christmas Eve, and the last train had gone. The depot lamp flickered twice. Died. Darkness swallowed her whole. If you want to see how one broken woman and one wounded rancher find something neither expected, subscribe now and stay until the end. Drop your city in the comments. Let me know how far this story travels. The cold didn't hurt anymore. That scared her most. Ellie Mercer had stopped shivering 20 minutes ago. She knew what that meant. Growing up on an Ohio farm, she'd seen animals freeze. First they shook, then they stopped, then they slept. She wasn't ready to sleep, not yet. Her fingers fumbled with the letter again, though she'd memorized every word. The paper had gone soft from handling from her tears from the snow melting against it. Miss Mercer. Circumstances changed. Married widow Patterson last month. Don't come. Send no reply. J. Whitfield. 17 words. That's what her future cost. 17 words after 18 days on trains that smelled of coal and desperation. After selling her mother's wedding ring. After promising her father she'd make everything right. Ellie pressed the letter to her chest and laughed. The sound came out wrong. Broken. God, she thought, if you're listening, I don't understand. I don't understand any of this. The depot stretched empty around her. Silver Creek, Montana. Population 312, according to the sign she'd passed. Not a soul in sight. Christmas Eve, and everyone was warm somewhere. Everyone but her. She should move, find shelter, do something. Her legs refused. The platform bench held 3 inches of snow. Her carpet bag sat beside it, everything she owned packed tight. 2 dresses. 1 pair of good shoes. Her nursing supplies. A Bible her mother had carried from Ireland. What now? She had $4.37. Not enough for a room. Not enough for a ticket back. Not enough for anything except dying slowly in a town that didn't know her name. Ellie closed her eyes. Hoofbeats. Her head snapped up. A wagon emerged from the darkness, pulled by 2 draft horses. Big animal's breath steaming white. The driver sat tall on the seat, shoulders broad under a heavy coat. He pulled the horses to a stop at the platform's edge. For a long moment, neither spoke. He studied her. She studied him. The lamp was dead, but moonlight caught his face. Strong jaw, dark eyes, a scar on his chin, pale against weathered skin. Ma'am. His voice was low, rough. You waiting on someone? Ellie tried to stand. Her legs buckled. She caught herself on the bench, pride stinging worse than the cold. She managed. He didn't come. The man's expression didn't change, but something shifted in his eyes. He set the brake, climbed down from the wagon. His boots crunched in the snow as he approached. How long you been out here? Since the 4 o'clock train. That was 5 hours ago. Yes, sir. Ellie lifted her chin. I'm aware. He stopped 3 feet away. Close enough to help, far enough to be proper. She noticed that. Noticed he was careful. You got somewhere to go? No. Someone coming for you? No. Money for a room. Her silence answered. The man removed his hat, ran a hand through dark hair going silver at the temples. He looked at the sky, then back at her. I'm Sam Thornton. Got a ranch about 4 miles out. Housekeeper lives there full time. You'd have your own room lock on the door. Warm and proper. Ellie stared at him. You don't know me, she said. Why would you? Because it's Christmas Eve. His voice hardened. Because no one should die on a train platform while the town sings hymns a quarter mile away. Because I got a spare room and you got nowhere else. She should say no. A woman alone accepting shelter from a strange man. She knew what people would say, what they'd assume. But the cold had seeped into her bones, and something in his face, not pity, not lechery, Just plain human decency made her believe him. "Ellie Mercer," she said. "I accept your kindness, Mr. Thornton." He nodded, once picked up her carpet bag like it weighed nothing. "Miss Mercer." He helped her into the wagon. His hands were gentle despite their size. When she was settled, he tucked a wool blanket around her legs without asking permission. The horses started forward. The depot disappeared behind them. Ellie watched it go. The empty platform. The dead lamp. The place where her old life had ended. She faced forward. Whatever came next, it couldn't be colder than what she'd left behind. The wagon moved through darkness and snow. Sam Thornton didn't talk. Ellie was grateful. She had no words left. Instead, she counted fence posts passing in the moonlight. An old trick from childhood when her mother was dying and counting kept the panic away. 14, 15, 16. "You a praying woman, Miss Mercer?" His voice startled her. She'd almost forgotten he was there. "I was," she said carefully. "Tonight, I'm not sure what I am." He nodded like that made perfect sense. "My mother used to say God's loudest when we can't hear him. Never understood that till she was gone." "How long ago?" 2 years. Sam's jaw tightened. "Cancer." Took her slow. "I'm sorry." "Me too." They rode another mile in silence. Then lights appeared ahead. A 2-story house materialized from the snow. Not fancy, but solid, built to last. Lamplight glowed in the windows. Sam pulled the wagon to the porch. Before he could help her down, the front door flew open. A woman stood silhouetted against the warmth. Gray hair pinned neat wool shawl wrapped tight. She had a face like bread dough, soft and practical. Samuel Thornton. What in God's name? She stopped when she saw Ellie. "This is Miss Mercer," Sam said. "She needs shelter. Storm's getting worse." The woman's eyes swept over Ellie, taking stock, measuring. Then her expression softened into something like recognition. Like she'd seen this before. "Of course she does. Come in, child. Come in out of that cold." The house wrapped around Ellie like an embrace. Polished wood floors. A Christmas wreath over the fireplace. The smell of pine and fresh bread, and something sweet baking. She saw wealth in the quality of things. Careful wealth, not showy. And she felt her own poverty like a stain. "I'm Agnes McAllister." The woman took Ellie's frozen hands in her warm ones. "Lord, you're cold as death. Sam, get coffee. I'll take her upstairs." Ellie followed Agnes up a solid staircase, her legs shaking with each step. Guest rooms at the end of the hall. Agnes pushed open a door. "Fire's already going. I keep it ready just in case." The room was simple. Clean quilt, sturdy bed, small fireplace crackling with fresh wood. A Bible on the nightstand, same as her mother's. Ellie's throat tightened. "Why are you doing this?" she whispered. "You don't know me. You don't know anything about me." Agnes turned. Her eyes were kind, but sharp. "I know enough," she said. "I know what a woman looks like when the world's knocked her flat. I know Sam Thornton's got a good heart, even if he tries to hide it. And I know it's Christmas Eve." She patted Ellie's shoulder. "We can sort out the rest tomorrow. Tonight you're safe. That's all that matters." Agnes left. The door clicked shut. Ellie stood alone in the warm room. Firelight danced on the walls. Her hands trembled as she touched the quilt. Homemade. Quality stitching. She sat on the bed. The tears came then. Silent, shaking sobs she couldn't stop. 3 weeks of fear and hope and desperate faith, and all of it ending here, in a stranger's guest room, on Christmas Eve. She pulled the quilt around her shoulders and whispered into the empty room, "Please, God. Please let this be real. Let this be mercy and not another trap." She didn't know how long she cried. Long enough that the fire burned low, long enough that her eyes swelled and her throat ached. A knock at the door. "Miss Mercer." It was Sam's voice, quiet through the wood. "Coffee's ready if you want it. Kitchen's warm." She wiped her face, straightened her dress, opened the door. Sam stood in the hallway, hat in his hands. His eyes moved over her tear-streaked face, but he said nothing about it. "You don't have to come down," he said. "Agnes can bring something up if you'd rather be alone." "No." Ellie's voice surprised her. "Steady. Certain. I'd rather not be alone." Something flickered across his face. "Understanding, maybe. Kitchen's this way." She followed him downstairs. The kitchen was large, built for a family that wasn't there anymore. A long table dominated the center. 2 cups of coffee sat waiting, steam curling up. Sam pulled out a chair for her, sat across, bowed his head briefly, lips moving in silent grace. When he looked up, his eyes were kind. "You want to tell me what happened, or you want to just drink coffee and not talk?" Ellie wrapped her hands around the warm cup. "Both," she said. "Neither. I don't know." "Fair enough." They sat in silence. The clock on the wall ticked steady. Somewhere in the house, Agnes hummed a hymn Ellie recognized from childhood. She looked at Sam, really looked, took in the lines around his eyes, the gray at his temples, the scar on his chin. A man who'd lived hard. A man who'd survived things. Why, she asked finally. "Why did you stop?" Sam set down his cup, studied his hands. 8 years ago, he said slowly, I was supposed to get married. Catherine was her name. Prettiest girl in the territory. Everyone said I was the luckiest man alive. What happened? She ran off the night before the wedding, took up with a railroad man passing through, left me a note saying I was too boring for her, too quiet, said she wanted adventure. Ellie's chest tightened. "I'm sorry. Folks were kind enough to my face. Behind my back they laughed. Poor Sam Thornton couldn't keep his woman. Must be something wrong with him." His jaw worked. "I buried myself after that. Work and more work. Built the ranch into something. Made money. Made a name. But inside?" He stopped. Shook his head. "Inside I was freezing. Just like you were tonight. Just slower." Ellie set down her cup. "So you stopped because you recognized it. The freezing. I stopped because someone should have stopped for me, and no one did." He met her eyes. "I remember what cold feels like, Miss Mercer. Don't wish it on anyone." The clock ticked. The fire crackled. Agnes's humming drifted from somewhere deeper in the house. Ellie spoke before she could stop herself. "I came here to marry a man I'd never met. Jacob Whitfield. He owns the general store." Owned. She corrected herself. "He wrote letters for 6 months, said he needed a wife, said he'd give me a good life, and instead he married someone else, a widow with land. I found out from a letter he didn't even have the courage to sign with his full name." Sam's expression darkened. "Whitfield's a coward, always has been. You know him, everyone knows everyone in Silver Creek." He leaned back. "Man inherited that store from his daddy and acts like he built it himself. Talks big, follows through small." Ellie almost laughed. "Almost. I sold my mother's ring to come here. I have $4 to my name. My father's dying back in Ohio. My brothers need schooling. And I'm stuck in Montana with no way home and no way forward." She hadn't meant to say all that, but something about this man, his quiet, his steadiness, the way he listened without interrupting pulled the truth out of her. Sam was quiet for a long moment. Then he spoke. "Storm's settling in. Roads won't clear for 3, maybe 4 days. You're welcome to stay until they do. I can't impose like that. It's not imposing. It's accepting help. There's a difference. But the town, I don't answer to the town. I answer to my conscience, and my conscience says I don't turn away women in trouble on Christmas Eve." Ellie's eyes burned. "What about after?" "When the road's clear, I've got nowhere to go, Mr. Thornton. No money, no prospects, no reputation left worth saving. Then we'll figure it out." Sam's voice was firm. "Together, together." She stared at him. "You don't know me. I know enough." His eyes held hers. "I know you're brave enough to travel alone across the country, strong enough to survive tonight, honest enough to tell the truth instead of making up a pretty story. That's more than I can say for half the people in this territory." He stood, carried his cup to the sink. "Get some sleep, Miss Mercer. Tomorrow's soon enough for planning. Christmas morning we'll eat breakfast and figure out what God has in mind. Mr. Thornton." He turned. Thank you. Her voice cracked. For stopping. For the coffee. For not making me feel like a burden. You're not a burden, he said simply. You're just someone who needed help. Ain't no shame in that. He walked her to the stairs. Stopped at the bottom. Lock on your door works fine. Agnes is just down the hall if you need anything. Good night, Mr. Thornton. Good night, Miss Mercer. Merry Christmas. She climbed the stairs, locked her door, sat on the bed and stared at the fire. Outside, snow fell thick and silent. The wind howled against the windows, but inside she was warm. She was safe. For the first time in weeks, she let herself believe that maybe God hadn't abandoned her after all. Maybe he'd just been waiting for her to end up exactly where she needed to be, in a stranger's house, on Christmas Eve, with a man who knew what freezing felt like. Ellie pulled the blanket to her chin and closed her eyes. Sleep came fast, deep and dreamless. She didn't hear Agnes and Sam talking in the kitchen below. That woman's been through hell, Agnes said quietly. I know. You gonna help her? I'm gonna try. You're a good man, Samuel Thornton. Don't let anyone tell you different. Sam stared at the stairs where Ellie had disappeared. We'll see, he said. We'll see what morning brings. He didn't sleep that night, just sat by the fire thinking about frozen platforms and broken letters, and a woman with gray-blue eyes who laughed like she'd forgotten how. Something had shifted tonight. He felt it in his chest. A door opening that he'd kept locked for 8 years. He didn't know if that was good or dangerous. Probably both. Outside the storm howled on, but inside the Thornton Ranch, something new had begun. Something that would change everything for Ellie, for Sam, for the whole town of Silver Creek. They just didn't know it yet. Christmas morning came quiet. Ellie woke to the smell of coffee and bacon drifting up through the floorboards. For a moment she forgot where she was. The bed was too soft. The room too warm. Then memory crashed back and she pressed her hand to her chest, feeling her heart pound. She was in Sam Thornton's house. A stranger's house. On Christmas Day. She dressed quickly in her better dress, the navy one with simple trim. Her fingers trembled as she pinned her hair. The mirror above the washstand showed a woman she barely recognized. Eyes swollen from crying. Cheeks hollow from weeks of poor eating. But alive. Still alive. That counted for something. She descended the stairs slowly, listening. Voices drifted from the kitchen. Sam and Agnes speaking in low tones. She's running from something, Agnes. More than just a broken engagement. We all run from something. Sam's voice was calm. Doesn't mean she's dangerous. Didn't say dangerous. Said complicated. There's a difference. Ellie paused on the bottom step. Should she announce herself? Pretend she hadn't heard? The decision was made for her when Agnes appeared in the kitchen doorway. There you are. Come eat before it gets cold. The kitchen table was set for 3. Eggs, bacon, biscuits, preserves. More food than Ellie had seen in a single meal for months. Her stomach cramped at the sight. Sam stood when she entered. Miss Mercer? Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas. She slid into the offered chair, hands folded in her lap. Mr. Thornton. Mrs. McAllister. Thank you for this. It's just Agnes, dear. And don't thank me yet. You haven't tasted my biscuits. Sam said grace. Simple words. Genuine faith. When he finished, Agnes passed the food. Ellie ate carefully, though her body screamed for more. She'd learned hunger's discipline. Eating too fast after starving made you sick. You got people back east? Agnes asked. Family waiting on word from you. Ellie set down her fork. My father. He's ill. Consumption. My mother passed 3 years ago. I have 2 younger brothers still at home, and they're expecting you to send money. Sam's voice was quiet. That's why you came west. It wasn't a question. He'd pieced it together. Yes. Ellie met his eyes. Jacob Whitfield promised a good life, a store that made profit. Said he needed a wife who could work hard and keep books. I thought... She stopped. Swallowed. I thought I could save my family by marrying Practical. Ain't nothing wrong with Practical, Agnes said firmly. World needs more practical and less romantic foolishness. But Whitfield had other ideas. Apparently. Ellie's voice hardened. A widow with land is worth more than a nurse with nothing. Sam's jaw tightened. He's a fool. He's a businessman, Ellie corrected. He made a calculation. I just came out on the wrong side of the numbers. Silence fell over the table. The clock ticked. Outside wind rattled the windows. Then Agnes spoke. What are you trained in? You said nurse midwife mostly. Ellie straightened. I trained under Dr. Patterson in Cleveland for 2 years. Delivered 63 babies. Treated fevers, set bones, stitched wounds. I'm not a doctor, but I know enough to help. Agnes and Sam exchanged a look. Silver Creek's got one doctor, Sam said slowly. Henry Shaw. Good man, but he's getting old. Rides circuit to 3 other towns. Gone more than he's here. Ellie's heart quickened. You're saying there might be work for me. I'm saying there might be need. Work depends on whether folks'll accept help from a stranger, and whether they'll accept help from a woman living under your roof. Ellie kept her voice steady. I heard what that means, Mr. Thornton. I'm not naive. The town will talk. Let them talk. Easy to say when it's not your reputation. Sam leaned back, studied her. You worried about me or about yourself? Both. Ellie met his gaze. You've shown me kindness. I won't repay it by destroying your standing in this community. My standing's my business, and my honor's mine. She lifted her chin. I won't be a kept woman, Mr. Thornton, real or perceived. If I stay, I work. I pay my way. I make myself useful enough that even the gossips have to respect it. Something shifted in Sam's expression. Approval, maybe? Or surprise. Fair enough, he said. Agnes, you got thoughts? The older woman was smiling. I like her. She's got spine. Spine won't feed her, Sam said dryly. No, but spine'll keep her standing when the town tries to knock her down. Agnes stood, began clearing plates. Storm's got another 2 days in it at least. That's 2 days to figure out a plan. Right now I need help with the Christmas dinner. You know how to cook, girl? Ellie stood. Yes, ma'am, I do. Good. Sam, get out of my kitchen. Go check on the horses or something useful. Sam grabbed his coat, paused at the door. Miss Mercer. Yes, I'm glad you're here. Whatever comes next, I'm glad. He left before she could respond. Agnes handed her an apron. That man hasn't said that many words in a month, she said. Don't know what you did to him, but keep doing it. They worked side by side through the morning. Ellie learned the kitchen's rhythms, where Agnes kept the flour, how she liked her vegetables cut. The older woman talked while they worked stories of the Thornton family of Montana winters, of her own journey west 40 years ago. I came out here with my husband, she said. He worked the mines up north, died in a collapse when I was 32. No children, no family. Mrs. Thornton, Sam's mother, she took me in, gave me work, gave me purpose. So you understand. I understand exactly. Agnes's hands stilled on the bread dough. This territory's hard on women, hard on anyone alone, but it's also honest. People out here, they see what you do, not just what you say. You prove yourself useful, they'll respect you eventually. And if I don't prove myself, then you move on to the next town and try again. But I don't think that'll happen. Agnes resumed kneading. I watched you eat this morning. Careful, disciplined. You've known hunger. You've known hard. Women like that don't break easy. Ellie's eyes burned. She blinked fast, focused on the carrots she was chopping. Can I ask you something? Ask. Mr. Thornton. Sam. The woman who left him. Do people still talk about it? Agnes was quiet for a moment. Not as much anymore. But it changed him, made him careful, made him closed off. She sighed. He was different before, lighter. Used to laugh at the socials dance with the girls. After Catherine left, he just stopped, buried himself in work, stopped going to town unless he had to. 8 years is a long time to stay buried. That it is. Agnes looked at her sharply. Why do you ask? Ellie kept her eyes on the carrots. No reason. Agnes didn't sound convinced. Well, whatever your reason, I'll tell you this, that man deserves better than what he got. And if you're thinking of hurting him, I'm not thinking of anything. Ellie set down the knife. I'm just trying to survive Mrs. McAllister. That's all I've got room for right now. Agnes studied her for a long moment. Then she nodded. Fair enough. Now finish those carrots. They worked in comfortable silence after that, but Ellie's mind kept circling back to Sam Thornton, to the way he'd looked at her across the kitchen table, to the way he'd said, "I'm glad you're here." She pushed the thoughts away. Survival first. Everything else could wait. Christmas dinner was quiet but warm. Just the three of them at the long table, food enough for 10. Sam carved the goose. Agnes served the potatoes. Ellie poured the cider. They talked about small things: weather, horses, the state of the fences after last month's windstorm. Ellie listened more than she spoke, learning the rhythms of this household, the history hidden in casual references. Sam mentioned his father, dead 16 years now, kicked by a horse he was trying to break. He was stubborn, Sam said. Thought he could gentle anything with enough patience. That horse proved him wrong. But he taught you to ranch, Agnes added. Taught you everything worth knowing. Sam nodded. Everything except how to handle people. That was Mama's department. And now you've got me, Agnes said tartly. Lucky man. Sam almost smiled. That's one word for it. After dinner they moved to the sitting room. A fire crackled in the hearth. Sam pulled out a worn book from the shelf beside his chair. You read? He asked Ellie. Every chance I get. He held up the book. Dickens, A Christmas Carol. Seemed appropriate. Ellie felt something loosen in her chest. I haven't heard that story read aloud since my mother was alive. Then sit. Listen. She settled into the chair across from him. Agnes took up mending and the corner needles clicking softly. Sam began to read. His voice was low, rough, not polished like the actors who'd performed at the Cleveland Theater. But something about the rawness made it better, more honest. Ellie closed her eyes and let the words wash over her. For the first time in months, she felt something like peace. They got through 2 chapters before the knock came. Sharp, urgent, pounding on the front door like the devil himself was chasing. Sam was on his feet instantly, book forgotten. Agnes set down her mending face tight. Who'd be out in this storm? She muttered. Sam pulled open the door. A man stood on the porch covered in snow hat, clutched in shaking hands. Ellie recognized the type ranch hand Young scared half to death. Mr. Thornton, sir. The boy could barely get the words out. It's Mrs. Patterson. The baby's coming and Doc Shaw's in Billings and there's no one. Slow down. Sam gripped the boy's shoulders. Breathe. Tell me. The boy gulped air. Mrs. Patterson. She's 4 miles east. Baby's coming early. Something's wrong. Mr. Patterson rode to town for help, but there ain't no one. Ellie was on her feet before she knew she'd moved. I'm a midwife, she said. Trained, experienced. How early is the baby? The boy stared at her. Who are you? That doesn't matter. How early? 2 months, maybe. Mrs. Patterson kept saying it wasn't time yet, but the pains started this morning, and they ain't stopping. Ellie's mind raced. 2 months early. Breach possible. Hemorrhage possible. 100 things that could go wrong. I need to go, she said. Sam was already grabbing his coat. I'll drive. Roads are rough, but the wagon can make it. Mr. Thornton. You don't have to. I know that ranch. You don't. He turned to Agnes. Get her supplies. Whatever medical things she brought. Agnes was already moving toward the stairs. The boy hovered in the doorway, shivering. Should I go back? Tell them help's coming? Yes. Sam handed him a flask from the shelf. Drink that first. Warm up. Then ride. 5 minutes later, Ellie was in the wagon with her nursing bag. Sam drove the horses hard through the snow, the wind cutting like knives. She gripped the seat, mind running through procedures. Early delivery, possible complications, limited supplies. No doctor. Lord help me, she prayed silently. Let me be enough. Tell me about the Pattersons she called over the wind. Sam didn't take his eyes off the road. Good people. Tom Patterson runs cattle smaller operation than mine. Mary's young, maybe 20. This is her first baby. First baby. 2 months early. In a blizzard. Ellie closed her eyes, breathed. I can do this. I've done harder. Have you? She opened her eyes. Sam was watching her now, the horses knowing the road well enough to manage on their own for a moment. I delivered a baby once during a cholera outbreak. Mother was dying, father dead. I was the only one there. And mother lived. Baby lived. Ellie held his gaze. I didn't sleep for 3 days, but they lived. Sam turned back to the road. Good. Because Mary Patterson's going to need someone who doesn't give up. I don't, Ellie said. I never have. The Patterson ranch was small but tidy. Light blazed in every window. When the wagon pulled up, a man burst out the front door, Tom Patterson. Ellie assumed, broad, weathered terror in his eyes. You the midwife? He didn't wait for confirmation. She's upstairs. Bleeding. Please, you gotta help her. Ellie was out of the wagon before Sam could offer a hand. Take me to her, now. The house was warm inside, too warm. Ellie stripped off her coat as she climbed the stairs. The smell hit her first blood and sweat and fear. Mary Patterson lay in the bedroom, face white as the sheets beneath her. An older woman knelt beside the bed trying to soothe her, but Mary's eyes were wild. Tom, she gasped when she saw her husband. Tom, I can't. Help's here. Tom's voice broke. She's a midwife. She's going to help. Ellie moved to the bedside, took Mary's hand. Mrs. Patterson? Mary, look at me. The young woman's eyes found hers. I need you to breathe, Ellie said firmly. Slow, deep. Can you do that for me? It hurts. Tears streamed down Mary's face. It hurts so bad. I know it does. Ellie's hands moved automatically, checking pulse, checking positioning. But pain means your body's working. We're going to work with it, not against it. She turned to the older woman. Your family aunt. Sarah. The woman's voice trembled. I've been trying to help, but I don't know what. You're doing fine. Ellie kept her voice calm. I need hot water. Clean cloths. A sharp knife boiled if possible. Can you get those? Sarah fled the room. Tom hovered in the doorway. Will she, Mr. Patterson? Ellie caught his eyes. Your wife needs you calm. Can you be calm for her? He nodded shakily. Good. Hold her hand. Talk to her. Tell her about your plans for the spring. Tell her about the baby's room. Keep her mind busy. She worked as she spoke, assessing, preparing. The baby was positioned wrong, not breech, thank God, but turned. She'd need to help guide it. This is going to be hard, Ellie said quietly to Mary. But I've done this before. Many times. You're strong. The baby's strong. We're all going to get through this together. Mary's hand gripped hers like iron. Promise me, she whispered. Promise me my baby lives. Ellie couldn't promise that. No honest midwife could. But she looked into those terrified eyes and said the only thing that mattered. I'm going to do everything in my power. That's my promise. The next 4 hours were the longest of Ellie's life. She worked with sweat running down her back and blood on her hands. She talked Mary through contractions, guided the baby's turn, prayed silently, when the cord wrapped once around the tiny neck. Sam waited downstairs. She heard him pacing, heard him talking to Tom when Tom needed a break from the bedroom. At 3 a.m, the baby came. A girl. Tiny. Too tiny. But breathing. Ellie cleared the airways, wrapped the infant in warmed cloths, held her close until the weak cries strengthened. Mary sobbed with relief. Is she all right? She's small. Ellie placed the baby in Mary's arms. She'll need extra care, warmth, frequent feeding. But she's fighting. You can see it. Tom stood frozen in the doorway. His face crumpled. Thank you. His voice was barely a whisper. Thank you. God bless you. Ellie cleaned up, disposed of the bloody sheets, made sure Mary was stable, bleeding, controlled baby nursing. By dawn, mother and child were sleeping peacefully. She found Sam in the kitchen, coffee cold in his hands. He looked up when she entered. Well, girl. About 5 pounds, small but healthy. Ellie sank into a chair. Mother's fine. Tired, but fine. Sam exhaled long and slow. You did it. We got lucky. 100 things could have gone wrong, but they didn't. Because you were here. Ellie shook her head. Because your ranch hand rode through a blizzard. Because you drove me through the snow. Because Sarah kept her head. We all did it. Sam studied her. You're bleeding. She looked down at her hands, small cuts from where she'd gripped two hard nails digging into palms. She hadn't noticed. It's nothing. Sam retrieved a cloth, dipped it in water. He took her hand gently, began cleaning the cuts. You saved 2 lives tonight, he said quietly. I did my job. No. He looked up at her. You did more than that. You walked into a stranger's house on Christmas night and brought a baby into the world. That's not a job. That's a calling. Ellie's throat tightened. She didn't trust her voice. Sam finished cleaning her hands, wrapped a strip of cloth around the worst cut. When we get back to town, he said things are going to be different. What do you mean? I mean Tom Patterson's got a big mouth. By noon, everyone in Silver Creek's going to know what you did tonight. His eyes held hers. They're going to know who you are, what you can do. Some of them will still talk, but some of them will see. See what Sam stood. Put on his coat. That you belong here, he said simply. That you're not some scandal waiting to happen. That you're exactly what this town needs, whether they know it yet or not. He offered his hand. Ready to go home. Ellie looked at his hand, at his face, at this man who'd found her freezing on a platform and given her shelter and driven her through a blizzard to save a stranger's baby. Home. She'd never thought she'd hear that word again. She took his hand. Yes, she said. I'm ready. They drove back through the morning light. The storm had broken. The sky was clear. And somewhere behind them a baby girl named Eleanor, named for the woman who'd brought her into the world, slept peacefully in her mother's arms. Ellie didn't know what the future held. Didn't know if the town would accept her or destroy her. Didn't know if this feeling in her chest, this warmth, when Sam looked at her, was hope or foolishness or something else entirely. But for now, in this moment, she was alive. She was useful. She was going home. And that was enough. The wagon wheels cut fresh tracks through the new fallen snow, and the sun rose higher, and the world looked different than it had the night before. Changed. Full of possibility. Ellie pulled her coat tighter and faced forward. Whatever came next, she was ready. The return to Silver Creek brought complications Ellie hadn't anticipated. Word spread faster than wildfire. By the time Sam pulled the wagon up to his ranch that afternoon, riders had already come and gone. Tom Patterson had sent messages to anyone who'd listen. The strange woman from the Thornton place had saved Mary's life. Saved the baby's life. Worked through the night like an angel sent from God himself. Agnes met them at the door, her face a mixture of relief and concern. You're back. She looked Ellie over. You look like death warmed over. I feel like it too. Ellie managed a weak smile. Is there coffee? Coffee, food, and a bed? In that order. Agnes ushered her inside. Sam Doc Shaw came by an hour ago. Heard the news from town. He wants to talk to the girl. Now said he'd wait. Agnes handed Ellie a cup of coffee. He's in the sitting room. Ellie's hands tightened on the cup. The town's doctor. This could be opportunity or disaster. I'll go with you. Sam's voice was firm. Mr. Thornton, Sam. And yes, I'm going. He met her eyes. You walked into hell last night and walked out carrying 2 lives. You're not facing this alone. Ellie wanted to argue. She was used to fighting her own battles, but she was also exhausted and scared. And something about Sam's steady presence made her feel less alone than she had in years. All right, she said, together. Dr. Henry Shaw was not what Ellie expected. He was old 70 at least, with white hair and kind eyes and hands that trembled slightly when he rose to greet her. But his gaze was sharp, assessing. Miss Mercer? He shook her hand firmly. I've heard quite a bit about you this morning. I hope some of it was accurate. He smiled slightly. Tom Patterson says you saved his wife and baby from certain death. I'm curious to hear your version. Ellie told him. Clinically. Professionally. The presentation issues the cord complication, the interventions she'd used. Shaw listened without interrupting, his expression unreadable. When she finished, he was quiet for a long moment. Where did you train Cleveland? Under Dr. James Patterson, no relation. 2 years of formal study, 3 years of practical experience. Patterson. Shaw nodded slowly. I've read his papers. Good man. Ahead of his time in some ways. He taught me everything I know. Shaw leaned back. Miss Mercer, I'm 72 years old. I've been the only doctor in this territory for 30 years. I ride circuit to 4 towns. I'm gone more than I'm here. And I'm tired. Ellie's heart quickened. What are you saying? I'm saying this territory needs more than one doctor. I'm saying I've watched young mothers die because I couldn't get there in time. I'm saying I just heard about a woman who did in one night what I might not have been able to do myself. Shaw's eyes met hers. I'm asking if you'd consider working with me. Working with you officially, as my assistant. I can't make you a doctor, the medical board wouldn't allow it, but I can supervise, train you further, give you legitimacy. Sam shifted beside her. Doc, you know what people will say. A woman practicing medicine, I know exactly what they'll say. Shaw cut him off. They'll say the same things they said about me when I started treating Indians 40 years ago. They'll gossip and complain and clutch their pearls. And then when their children get sick, they'll come begging for help anyway. He turned to Ellie. The question is whether you're willing to face that. Ellie's mind raced. A position, legitimate work, a chance to build something, but also scrutiny, judgment. Her living situation with Sam would be examined under a microscope. What about Ellie hesitated? What about the fact that I'm staying at the Thornton Ranch? Shaw raised an eyebrow. Mrs. McAllister is there, isn't she? Yes, sir. And Mr. Thornton has behaved with complete propriety. Complete, Sam said flatly. Then what happens in that house is no one's business but yours. Shaw stood. Miss Mercer, I've been doctoring long enough to know that character matters more than circumstance. I saw character last night, even if I wasn't there to witness it. He extended his hand. Think about my offer. I'll be in town for 3 more days before I ride to Billings. Ellie shook his hand. Thank you, Dr. Shaw. I'll give you my answer before you leave. After he left, silence filled the room. Sam spoke first. That's a real opportunity. I know. You're going to take it. Ellie looked at him. Am I? You'd be a fool not to. And you're not a fool. She almost smiled. How do you know? Because fools don't survive blizzards. They don't deliver babies in strangers' houses. They don't look a town doctor in the eye and recite medical procedures like they're reading from a textbook. Ellie sank into a chair. If I take this position, things get harder for you. People will talk more, not less. They'll say, I don't care what they say. Sam sat across from her. I care about what's true. And what's true is that you belong here. You've got skills this territory needs. You've got strength most men I know don't have. Running away because of gossip would be a waste. I've never run from anything in my life. I know. He leaned forward. So don't start now. Ellie looked at him. Really looked. This man who'd found her freezing. Who'd driven her through a blizzard. Who'd waited all night while she worked. Who was now willing to face his community's judgment for her. Why are you doing this? She asked quietly. All of this. The shelter, the support, the willingness to fight. You don't know me. You don't owe me anything. Sam was quiet for a long moment. 8 years ago, he said slowly, I needed someone to fight for me. To stand up and say I was worth something. I didn't get that. I got pity. I got whispers. I got people pretending not to see me struggling. He met her eyes. I know what it's like to be alone when you shouldn't have to be. I know what it costs, and I decided a long time ago that if I ever had the chance to be for someone what no one was for me, I'd take it. Ellie's eyes burned. That's a beautiful philosophy, she managed. It's not philosophy, it's just survival. We survive better together than alone. He stood, moved toward the door. Think about Shaw's offer. Take your time. Whatever you decide, this is still your home for as long as you need it. He paused at the doorway. And Miss Mercer? Yes, you called her Eleanor. The baby. Tom Patterson told me. Said you didn't even hesitate when Mary asked what to name her. Ellie's breath caught. I didn't. I wasn't trying to. I know. Sam's voice softened. But you gave that little girl your name. That means something. That means you're already part of this place whether you believe it or not. He left her alone with the fire crackling and her thoughts spinning and a future she'd never imagined opening up before her. A chance. A real chance. If she was brave enough to take it. Ellie stared into the flames and made her decision. She was done running. Done being a victim of circumstance. Tomorrow she would tell Dr. Shaw yes. Tomorrow she would start building a life. And whatever the town of Silver Creek thought about it, they would just have to learn to accept it. Because Ellie Mercer had survived worse than gossip. And she wasn't going anywhere. 3 weeks passed faster than Ellie thought possible. She fell into a rhythm at the Thornton Ranch. Mornings helping Agnes with breakfast. Afternoons riding with Dr. Shaw to visit patients across the territory. Evenings in the sitting room reading or talking or simply sitting in comfortable silence while Sam went over his ledgers. It felt dangerous, this comfort. Like something that could be snatched away. She told herself not to get attached. Told herself this was temporary. Told herself 100 lies that got harder to believe with each passing day. You're settling in. Agnes said it one morning while they kneaded bread together. I can see it in your shoulders. Less tight than when you came. I'm just tired. No, you're home. There's a difference. Ellie didn't answer. Couldn't. Because Agnes was right, and that terrified her. The first real trouble came on a Tuesday. Ellie was in town with Dr. Shaw restocking supplies at the general store. The same store Jacob Whitfield owned. The same man who'd brought her west and abandoned her. She'd avoided it for 3 weeks. But Shaw needed medicines, and Whitfield's was the only place that stocked them. Just stay calm. Shaw patted her arm as they approached. You've got nothing to be ashamed of. I know that. Then act like it. The bell above the door jangled as they entered. Ellie kept her eyes forward, focused on the shelves on the task at hand. But she felt him watching her. Felt his gaze like a weight. Dr. Shaw. Jacob Whitfield's voice was too loud, too jovial. Good to see you. What can I help you with today? He was shorter than Ellie had imagined from his letters. Rounder. His smile didn't reach his eyes. Need some laudanum, Shaw said briskly. Bandages. Carbolic acid if you've got it. Of course, of course. Whitfield moved behind the counter gathering supplies. His eyes kept sliding to Ellie. And who's your assistant? Don't believe I've had the pleasure. Shaw's jaw tightened. Miss Mercer. She's been working with me for 3 weeks now. Mercer. Whitfield tested the name like it might bite him. Don't recall any Mercers in Silver Creek. She's new to town. Ah. Whitfield's smile sharpened. Staying with Sam Thornton, I heard. Quite the arrangement. Ellie's hands clenched at her sides. She forced herself to breathe. It's a perfectly proper arrangement, she said quietly. Mrs. McAllister is in residence. I have my own room with a lock on the door. Oh, I'm sure. Whitfield wrapped the supplies, still smiling, still watching. Just interesting, that's all. A woman alone staying with a bachelor rancher. People talk. Let them. Whitfield blinked. Excuse me, Ellie stepped forward, met his eyes. Let them talk, Mr. Whitfield. I've got nothing to hide. My conscience is clear. Is yours? The color drained from his face. I don't know what I think you do. Ellie kept her voice level. I think you know exactly what you did, and I think we both know why you're trying to stir up gossip about my living situation. Miss Mercer, you brought me here with promises you never intended to keep. You let me travel 18 days across the country. You let me sell my mother's ring for passage. And then you sent 3 lines in a letter because you didn't even have the courage to face me yourself. Shaw stepped closer, ready to intervene. But Ellie wasn't finished. I could have died on that platform, Mr. Whitfield. Frozen to death on Christmas Eve because of your cowardice. But I didn't. Because someone with actual decency stopped to help. The store had gone silent. Ellie became aware of other customers watching. Listening. So, yes. She straightened her spine. I'm staying at the Thornton Ranch. I'm working with Dr. Shaw. I'm building a life in this town despite what you did to me. And if that bothers you, Mr. Whitfield, I suggest you examine your own conscience instead of trying to destroy mine. She turned and walked out. Shaw caught up to her on the boardwalk, supplies in hand. Well, he said mildly, that was something. I shouldn't have lost my temper. You didn't lose it. You used it. There's a difference. He patted her shoulder. Besides, that man had it coming. Half the town knows what he did. The other half just learned. Ellie's hands were shaking. She clenched them together, tried to steady herself. It doesn't matter what I said. He'll still spread rumors. He'll still try to hurt me. Probably. Shaw started walking toward the wagon. But now you've shown the town who you are. A woman who fights back. A woman who tells the truth. That matters more than you think. They were halfway to the wagon when a voice stopped them. Miss Mercer. Ellie turned. A woman stood on the boardwalk behind them. Tall, severe, dressed in expensive black. Her face was hard, but her eyes held something Ellie couldn't quite read. I'm Constance Harwell. The woman didn't offer her hand. My husband owns the bank. Mrs. Harwell. Ellie inclined her head. What can I do for you? I heard what you said in there. To Jacob Whitfield. I'm sure the whole town heard. Yes. Constance's lips twitched. They did. She stepped closer. Her voice dropped. My daughter was ruined by a man like Whitfield. 5 years ago. He promised her marriage, took her virtue, then disappeared. She had to leave Silver Creek. We told everyone she went to care for a sick aunt in Denver. But we all knew the truth. I'm sorry. I'm not looking for sympathy. Constance's eyes were fierce. I'm telling you because I know what it's like. To be abandoned by a man who promised everything. To face a town that would rather blame the woman than the one who hurt her. She glanced back toward the general store. I've spent 5 years being angry at every woman who walked into this town with a man's protection. Jealous, maybe. Bitter. I saw you arrive at church last week, and I thought, here's another one. Another woman getting what my daughter never got. Ellie waited, but I was wrong. Constance met her eyes. What you did in there, standing up to that coward, telling the truth to his face. My daughter never got to do that. I never got to do that for her. Mrs. Harwell, I'm not going to be your friend, Miss Mercer. I don't make friends easily, but I'm not going to be your enemy either. What you did today took courage. This town needs more courage. She turned and walked away before Ellie could respond. Shaw let out a low whistle. Well, that was unexpected. Ellie stared after Constance Harwell's retreating figure. What just happened? I think you just got an ally, or at least one less enemy. He helped her into the wagon. The ride back to the ranch was quiet, but Ellie's mind was spinning. Constance Harwell, Jacob Whitfield, the watching eyes of Silver Creek. She'd made her stand, told her truth. Now she'd have to live with the consequences. The consequences came faster than expected. That Sunday, Ellie went to church with Sam and Agnes. She dressed carefully in her navy dress hair, pinned neat borrowed gloves from Agnes. She held her head high as they walked in. The whispers started before they reached the door. She heard fragments as she passed. That woman, living in sin, shameless. Poor Sam Thornton. The Whitfield woman. She kept her eyes forward. Sam walked beside her, hand at the small of her back. Steady. Certain. They sat in the second pew. The Thornton family's traditional spot. Ellie felt eyes boring into her back like knives. Reverend Whitfield stood at the pulpit. Ellie's stomach dropped. Whitfield. The same name as Jacob. She should have known. The Reverend was older than Jacob. His father, probably. The same cold eyes. The same too wide smile. Welcome, friends, to this Sunday service. His gaze swept the congregation, lingered on Ellie. Today, I want to speak about temptation. About the serpent in the garden. About women who lead good men astray. Sam's hand tightened on his knee. The sermon was pointed. Obvious. References to Jezebel, to fallen women, to the importance of propriety and the dangers of tolerating sin in the community. Ellie sat perfectly still. She felt Sam's anger radiating beside her, felt Agnes's rigid posture on her other side. She refused to react, refused to give them the satisfaction. When the service ended, people filed out quickly. No one approached her. No one met her eyes, except one person. Mary Patterson, thin and tired, but glowing with new mother joy, pushed through the crowd with baby Eleanor in her arms. "Miss Mercer," she was breathless defiant. "I wanted you to meet her properly, my daughter." Ellie's eyes burned. "She's beautiful. She's alive." Mary's voice cracked. "Because of you. I don't care what that preacher says. I don't care what anyone says. You saved us both." Tom Patterson appeared behind his wife, hat in hand. "What Mary said. We owe you everything. You don't owe me anything. We owe you our daughter's life. That's everything." Tom's jaw was set. "If anyone in this town gives you trouble, you tell them to talk to me. I'll set them straight." More people were watching now, listening. Mary lifted her voice deliberately. "Dr. Shaw says you're the best midwife he's ever worked with. Says half the territory's going to want you delivering their babies." Mary Ellie tried to quiet her. "No." Mary's eyes blazed. "I'm not going to whisper. You saved my daughter. You stayed with me all night. You held my hand and told me to breathe, and you wouldn't give up even when I wanted to." She turned to face the watching crowd. "This woman is a hero. Anyone who says different is a liar and a coward." The silence was deafening. Then slowly someone started clapping. Ellie turned. An old man she didn't recognize. Then another woman. Then another. Not everyone, not even most. But enough. Enough to crack the wall of judgment. Enough to show that the town wasn't unanimous. Constance Harwell caught Ellie's eye across the churchyard. She didn't smile, didn't wave, but she inclined her head. Slightly. Acknowledgement. Sam drove the wagon home in silence. When they reached the ranch, he helped Ellie down. His hands lingered on her waist for just a moment. "You all right? I'm fine. You're shaking." "I'm angry. There's a difference." Sam's jaw tightened. "That sermon was about you." "I know. Reverend Whitfield is Jacob's father." "I figured. He'll keep coming after you. Him and his son." Ellie met his eyes. "Then I'll keep standing up. What choice do I have?" "You could leave." The words hung between them. "Is that what you want?" Ellie asked quietly. "You want me to leave?" Sam's expression shifted. Something raw crossed his face before he controlled it. "No." His voice was rough. "That's not what I want." "Then why did you say it?" "Because you should know you have options. You're not trapped here. You're not obligated to stay and fight just because I offered you shelter. If leaving would make your life easier, leaving wouldn't make my life easier." Ellie cut him off. "It would make me a coward. It would mean the Whitfields won. It would mean every woman who ever got abandoned by a man like Jacob has to keep running." She stepped closer. "I'm done running, Sam. I've been running my whole life. Running from poverty. Running from my father's illness. Running toward a future I thought would save me." Her voice steadied. "I'm tired. I'm tired of running. I want to plant my feet somewhere and grow roots. I want to matter to a community, not just pass through it. I want to build something that lasts." She looked at the ranch, at the house, at the land stretching out under the winter sky. "I want to be here. If you'll have me." Sam was very still. "If I'll have you," he repeated. "Yes, Ellie. I've wanted you here since the moment you made coffee without asking permission." Her breath caught. Sam stepped closer, reached up, touched her face with calloused fingers. "I've been trying not to say anything. Trying to give you space. Trying not to be another man who makes demands of you when you've got nothing left to give." "You're not making demands." "I want to." His voice was rough. "Every day I want to ask you to stay, to make this permanent, to let me court you properly the way a woman deserves. Why haven't you? Because you've been through hell. Because you need time. Because I'm scared if I push too hard you'll run, and I'll spend the rest of my life wondering what might have been." Ellie's heart pounded. "I'm not going to run," she whispered. Sam's hand slid into her hair. He pulled her closer. His forehead touched hers. Then stay, he said. Stay and let me love you. Stay and let me prove that not all men are like Jacob Whitfield. Stay and build something with me. I don't have anything to offer you. No dowry, no land, no family name. You have yourself. Sam's voice cracked. That's more than enough. That's everything. She kissed him. She didn't plan it, didn't think about it. Just rose on her toes and pressed her lips to his and felt him freeze for one heartbeat before his arms came around her and he kissed her back. It wasn't gentle. It wasn't tentative. It was desperate and fierce and full of everything they'd both been holding back. When they finally broke apart, they were both breathing hard. Well, Sam's voice was unsteady. That's one way to answer. Ellie laughed. The sound surprised her. Light. Free. I'm staying, she said. I'm staying, and I'm fighting, and I'm not going anywhere. Good. Sam kissed her forehead. Because I wasn't going to let you leave anyway. They stood there in the winter cold holding each other, and for the first time in longer than Ellie could remember, she felt whole. Not healed, not yet, but on the way. And that was enough. The next 2 weeks brought changes Ellie hadn't expected. Word spread about the scene at church, about Mary Patterson's declaration, about the people who'd clapped. Slowly, carefully, some of the town began to thaw. Mrs. Henderson, the blacksmith's wife, brought a pie to the ranch. Just being neighborly, she said, not meeting Ellie's eyes. My sister had a hard birth last year. She almost died. I keep thinking if someone like you had been there. The widow Morrison stopped Ellie in town to ask about tonics for her arthritis. The school teacher, Miss Adams, invited Ellie to tea and spent 3 hours asking about her medical training. Not everyone. The Whitfields still preached against her. Mrs. Dalton, the mayor's wife, refused to acknowledge her existence. A group of church ladies crossed the street when they saw her coming. But enough people opened their doors. Enough people saw past the gossip to the woman underneath. And then, one cold February morning, everything changed again. Ellie was in the kitchen with Agnes when a rider came galloping up the drive. She recognized him, one of the Thornton ranch hands, young Billy Meeks. Sam met him at the door. "What is it, Doc Shaw, sir?" Billy was gasping for breath. He collapsed in town. Heart, they think. Sheriff sent me to fetch Miss Mercer. Ellie was already grabbing her medical bag. How bad? Bad, miss. Real bad. She rode behind Billy, pushing her horse hard through the cold. The town was 3 miles. They made it in 20 minutes. The doctor's office was crowded when she arrived. Sheriff Warren stood outside, face grim. "Miss Mercer, thank God, he's asking for you." Inside, Dr. Shaw lay on his own examination table. His face was gray, his breathing shallow, but his eyes were open, alert. "Ellie," his voice was a whisper. "Come here." She knelt beside him, took his hand. "I'm here. Listen to me." He gripped her fingers with surprising strength. "I'm dying. Don't say that. It's true. I've known it was coming. My heart's been weak for years." Shaw coughed. "But that's not what matters. What matters is you." "Dr. Shaw, be quiet and listen." His eyes blazed. "You're ready. You've been ready for weeks. You know everything I know. More maybe. I can't replace you. You're not replacing me. You're continuing the work." He reached under his pillow, pulled out a folded paper. "I wrote a letter to the medical board in Helena, recommending you for a provisional license." "A license?" Ellie stared at him. "But I'm not. I haven't." "You've delivered 16 babies in 3 weeks. You've treated more patients than I have. You've earned this." Shaw pressed the letter into her hand. "Take it. Send it. And don't let anyone tell you you're not good enough." Tears streamed down Ellie's face. "I can't do this without you." "You already are." Shaw smiled weakly. "You've been doing it since the night you saved Mary Patterson. I just gave you permission to believe it." His breathing was getting shallower. "Ellie, one more thing. Yes, that rancher of yours, Sam Thornton. What about him? Marry him. Shaw's eyes crinkled. Life's too short for waiting. And he looks at you like you hung the moon. A sob escaped her. I will. Good. That's settled then. His hand went slack in hers. The room went silent. Ellie bowed her head and wept. She wept for the old man who'd believed in her when no one else did, who'd given her a chance, who'd seen what she could become before she saw it herself. She wept for the future he wouldn't see, the lives she would save because he'd taught her how. She wept for herself, for the girl who'd arrived in Silver Creek with nothing, for the woman who was going to have to carry forward alone. The sheriff's hand settled on her shoulder. I'm sorry, Miss Mercer. She wiped her eyes, stood. I need to send a letter, she said. To Helena, to the medical board. Sheriff Warren blinked. Now. Ellie's voice was steady. Dr. Shaw gave me instructions. I intend to follow them. She walked out of that office different than she'd walked in. Something had hardened inside her, crystallized. She knew what she had to do now, knew what she was meant for. Silver Creek needed a doctor, and Ellie Mercer was going to become one, whether the town liked it or not. The funeral was held 3 days later. Ellie stood at the graveside, Sam's hand warm in hers, and watched them lower Dr. Henry Shaw into the frozen ground. Half the town had come, more than half. People who'd been treated by him, saved by him, delivered into the world by his steady hands. Reverend Whitfield refused to officiate, said a man who'd treated Indians and consorted with fallen women didn't deserve a Christian burial. So the Methodist circuit rider came instead, a young man with kind eyes who spoke about service and sacrifice and the measure of a life. Ellie barely heard the words. She kept thinking about Shaw's last moments, about the letter in her pocket, about the weight of everything he'd trusted her to carry. After the service, people filed past. Some nodded to her. Some ignored her. Mrs. Patterson squeezed her hand and whispered, "He'd be proud of you." Ellie couldn't speak, could only nod. Sam led her away when the crowd thinned. "You need to eat." "I'm not hungry." "I didn't ask if you were hungry. I said you need to eat." They rode back to the ranch in silence. Agnes had supper waiting. Ellie forced down a few bites, then retreated to the sitting room and stared at the fire. Sam found her there an hour later. "You want to talk about it, no?" He sat down anyway. Not touching her. Just present. "He believed in you," Sam said quietly. "More than anyone I've ever seen. You were like a daughter to him those last weeks." Ellie's eyes burned. "I knew him for 3 weeks." 3 weeks. That's nothing. Time doesn't measure what matters. Sam leaned forward. "My father died when I was 20. I'd spent my whole life with him, and I still felt like I didn't have enough time. But that man Shaw, he saw something in you. He chose to spend his last weeks teaching you everything he knew. That means something. He gave me a letter." Ellie pulled it from her pocket. "To the medical board. Recommending me for a provisional license." Sam's eyes widened. "Ellie, that's impossible. A woman. Practicing medicine. With no formal degree." She stared at the paper. "He believed I could do it. He believed this territory would accept me. Do you believe it?" Ellie was quiet for a long moment. "I don't know," she admitted. "I know I can do the work. I've proven that. But getting people to let me do it, getting the law to recognize me, that's different. One step at a time." Sam took her hand. "Send the letter. See what happens. Whatever comes, we'll face it together. Together." Ellie tested the word. "You keep saying that. Because I mean it." She looked at him. At this man who'd saved her life on Christmas Eve, who'd driven her through a blizzard, who'd stood by her through gossip and sermons and a funeral. "I love you," she said. The words came out before she could stop them. Simple. True. Sam's breath caught. "Say it again." "I love you, Sam Thornton. I don't know when it happened. I don't know how. But I love you, and I'm tired of pretending I don't." Sam pulled her close, kissed her hard. "I love you too," he said against her lips. "I've loved you since you made coffee without asking, since you stood up to Whitfield in his own store, Since you told me you weren't going to run, then why are we still pretending this is temporary? Sam pulled back, looked at her. Are you saying what I think you're saying? I'm saying I want to stay. Not as a guest, not as a charity case. I want to stay as your wife. Sam's face transformed, joy pure and unguarded. Ellie Mercer. Are you proposing to me? I suppose I am. She lifted her chin. Is that a problem? Not a problem. Sam laughed. Just unexpected. He cupped her face in his hands. I was going to wait. I had a whole plan. A ring. A speech. I don't need a ring or a speech. I just need you. You've got me. Sam kissed her forehead. You've had me since the moment you stepped off that platform. Then let's stop waiting. Let's get married. When soon? Before the town can gossip more. Before the Whitfields can make more trouble. Before anything else goes wrong. Sam studied her face. You're sure? You don't want time to think I've done nothing but think for 3 weeks. Ellie's voice was steady. I know what I want. I want this ranch. I want this life. I want you. Then yes. Sam pulled her close. Yes to everything. They held each other in the firelight, and for one perfect moment, everything was right. But perfect moments never lasted long in Silver Creek. The letter to Helena went out the next morning. Sam drove Ellie to town himself, stood beside her while she handed it to the postmaster. This is going to cause trouble. The postmaster, old Mr. Hendricks, peered at the address. Medical board. They don't like women poking around in doctor business. Then they'll have to learn, Ellie said calmly. Hendricks shrugged. Your funeral. Word spread fast. By afternoon, everyone knew that the woman from the Thornton Ranch had applied for a medical license, that she intended to take over Doc Shaw's practice, that she thought she had the right to treat patients, deliver babies, practice medicine like a man. The Whitfield struck first. Sunday's sermon was the most vicious yet. Reverend Whitfield thundered about the natural order, about women's place, about the dangers of pride and ambition in the fairer sex. This territory is under attack, he proclaimed from the pulpit, not by Indians or outlaws, but by something far more insidious, by women who forget their God-given roles, who reach above their station, who corrupt good men with their wiles and then demand the rights of those men as their own. Ellie sat rigid in the pew. Sam's hand covered hers, gripped tight. We know who I'm speaking of, Whitfield continued. We all know. A woman who arrived in our midst under scandalous circumstances, who wormed her way into the home of one of our most respected citizens, who now has the audacity to claim she can do the work of a trained physician. He pointed directly at Ellie. This woman is a fraud, a temptress, a threat to everything we hold dear. Sam was on his feet before Ellie could stop him. That's enough. The church went silent. I said that's enough. Sam's voice carried through the space. You've been attacking Miss Mercer since she arrived. You've twisted scripture to justify your son's cowardice. You've used this pulpit to spread lies and hatred. Mr. Thornton, you forget yourself, no. I remember exactly who I am. Sam stepped into the aisle. I'm the son of the man who built this church, the man who founded this town, the man who taught me that Christianity means mercy, not judgment. He looked around at the congregation. Miss Mercer saved Mary Patterson's life, saved her baby's life. She worked alongside Dr. Shaw for 3 weeks, treating your families, delivering your children. And when Shaw died, he wrote to the medical board himself, recommending her for a license. Murmurs rippled through the pews. That letter exists. I saw it. Shaw trusted her with his life's work. He believed she was the best person to continue it. Sam turned back to Whitfield. Your son abandoned this woman on Christmas Eve, left her to freeze on a train platform. If I hadn't come along, she'd be dead. And now you stand there calling her a threat, Mr. Thornton. She's the bravest person I know, the most capable, the most honest. Sam's voice cracked. And I'm going to marry her. The congregation erupted. Order, Whitfield shouted. Order. But people were standing, talking, arguing. Some looked angry. Others looked thoughtful. A few were nodding. Mary Patterson rose from her seat, baby Eleanor in her arms. Sam Thornton's right. Her voice was clear and strong. This woman saved my daughter. Saved me. I don't care what Reverend Whitfield says. I trust her with my life." Tom Patterson stood beside his wife. "We both do." More people rose. The Hendersons. The widow Morrison. Old Mr. Porter from the feed store. Not everyone. Not even most. But enough. Enough to create a divide. Enough to show that the Whitfields didn't speak for the whole town. Reverend Whitfield's face went purple with rage. "This isn't over," he snarled. "You'll all regret this. Mark my words." He stormed out of his own church. The congregation stood in stunned silence. Then slowly people began to leave. Some approached Ellie to shake her hand. Others hurried out without looking at her. Constance Harwell stopped beside Ellie's pew. "Well," she said dryly, "that was certainly memorable. Mrs. Harwell, you've got allies now." Constance's eyes were fierce. Real ones. Don't waste them. She swept out before Ellie could respond. Sam helped Ellie to her feet. She was shaking. "You didn't have to do that." "Yes, I did." Sam's jaw was set. "I've been quiet too long. Let them push you around. Let them define the terms. That ends now. They'll come after you. The Whitfields. They'll make trouble for the ranch. Let them try." They walked out of the church together into cold February sunlight. Behind them the town was dividing. Lines being drawn. Sides being chosen. War was coming. But for the first time, Ellie felt ready to fight it. The response from Helena came faster than expected. 3 weeks after Ellie sent her letter, a rider arrived at the Thornton Ranch with an official envelope bearing the seal of the Montana Territory Medical Board. Ellie's hands trembled as she opened it. Sam stood beside her. Agnes hovered in the doorway. "Well," Sam's voice was tense. Ellie read the letter. "Read it again." "They want to interview me." "What? The board?" "They've reviewed Dr. Shaw's recommendation. They've requested I appear before them in Helena for an examination. If I pass, they'll grant a provisional license." Sam let out a breath. "Ellie, it's a chance." Ellie looked up at him. "Just a chance. I might fail. They might decide a woman can't be trusted with medicine, or you might pass." Sam gripped her shoulders. "You might prove them wrong." "When do they want you?" Agnes asked. 2 weeks. Ellie checked the date. March 15th. "That's the week after we planned the wedding." Ellie's heart sank. She'd forgotten. In all the chaos, she'd forgotten. "We'll postpone." "No!" Sam's voice was firm. "We won't, Sam. We're getting married on March 7th like we planned. Then I'm taking you to Helena myself." He pulled her close. "You're going to walk into that examination as Mrs. Sam Thornton, with a husband who believes in you, with a whole town watching to see if you succeed. Not the whole town. Enough of it." Sam kissed her forehead. "Enough to matter." Ellie leaned into him. "I'm scared," she admitted. "What if I'm not good enough? You delivered a baby in a blizzard your first night in Montana. You've treated more patients in 2 months than most doctors see in a year. You held Henry Shaw's hand while he died and promised to carry on his work." Sam tilted her chin up. "You're good enough, Ellie. You've always been good enough. You just need to believe it." She kissed him. Soft, grateful, full of promise. "I'll try. Don't try." "Do." Agnes cleared her throat from the doorway. "If you two are done being romantic, we've got a wedding to plan. And I'm not doing all the work myself." Ellie laughed. The sound surprised her. Light. Free. "Yes, ma'am," she said. "We're coming." She tucked the letter into her pocket and followed Sam into the kitchen. 2 weeks until the wedding. 3 weeks until Helena. Everything was about to change. She just had to survive long enough to see it. The Whitfields made their move 3 days before the wedding. Ellie was in town buying fabric for her wedding dress with Agnes when she saw them coming. Jacob Whitfield and his father flanked by 2 men she didn't recognize. Official-looking, stern. Miss Mercer. Reverend Whitfield's voice dripped with false courtesy. "These gentlemen are from the Territorial Marshal's office. They have some questions for you." Ellie's blood went cold. What kind of questions? The older marshal stepped forward. "Miss Mercer, we've received a complaint. Allegations that you've been practicing medicine without a license. That you've endangered lives through incompetence." that you've fraudulently represented yourself as a medical professional. That's not true. We have sworn statements. The marshal held up papers. From Jacob Whitfield. From several concerned citizens. They allege you caused the death of Dr. Henry Shaw through negligence. Ellie's vision went white. Dr. Shaw died of heart failure. His heart had been weak for years. He told me himself. Can you prove that I... Ellie's voice failed. The marshal's expression was cold. Miss Mercer, we're going to need you to come with us. You're being detained pending investigation. Detained in the town jail. Until we can sort this out. No. Agnes stepped forward. You can't do this. She hasn't done anything wrong. Ma'am, step aside. This is persecution. Agnes's voice rose. The Whitfields have been trying to destroy this girl since she arrived. They're using you to finish the job. Ma'am, I won't ask again. Ellie touched Agnes's arm. It's all right. It's not all right. Go get Sam. Ellie kept her voice steady. Tell him what happened. He'll know what to do. Agnes hesitated. Then she nodded and hurried away. The marshals escorted Ellie to the jail, a small building at the edge of town. One cell. Cold. Bare. They locked her in. Ellie stood at the bars and watched Jacob Whitfield smile. Should have left when you had the chance, he said. Now you'll spend the rest of your life regretting you didn't. She didn't respond. Didn't give him the satisfaction. But inside her heart was breaking. 3 days until her wedding. 3 weeks until Helena. And she was locked in a cell accused of killing the man who'd believed in her most. Sam arrived within the hour. Ellie. He gripped the bars of her cell. His face was pale. Furious. Are you all right? I'm fine. She wasn't fine. But she wouldn't let him see her break. What's happening? I've sent a writer to Helena, to the medical board. If Shaw's death was natural, there'll be records. Documentation. And if the Whitfields got to those records first. Sam's jaw tightened. Then we'll find witnesses. People who knew Shaw was sick. People who saw his condition. That could take weeks. I don't care if it takes months. Sam's eyes burned. I'm not letting them do this to you. I'm not letting them win. Ellie reached through the bars, touched his face. Sam, listen to me. I'm listening. If this goes wrong, if they convict me, I need you to let me go. What I need you to walk away. Protect yourself. Protect the ranch. Don't let them destroy you because of me. Sam grabbed her hand, held it tight. Never. Sam, I said never. His voice cracked. I didn't save you from freezing on a platform just to abandon you in a jail cell. I didn't spend 3 months falling in love with you just to walk away when things got hard. He pressed his forehead to the bars. You're going to get out of here. We're going to get married. You're going to go to Helena and pass that examination. And then we're going to come home and spend the rest of our lives proving every single one of these bastards wrong. Ellie's tears spilled over. You can't promise that. Watch me. He kissed her through the bars. Desperate. Fierce. I love you, he said. I'm not giving up. And neither are you. He pulled away, wiped his eyes. I'll be back. With help. With evidence. With whatever it takes. He strode out of the jail. Ellie sank onto the cold cot and wrapped her arms around herself. She'd been abandoned before. Left to freeze. Left to die. But Sam Thornton was different. She had to believe that. She had to. The next 2 days were the longest of Ellie's life. She sat in that cell, waiting, praying, fighting despair. People came. Mary Patterson with baby Eleanor. Sheriff Warren apologetic but bound by law. Agnes with food and blankets and fierce promises of vengeance. But no evidence. No proof. The trial was set for the morning of what should have been her wedding day. Ellie woke before dawn, dressed in her one good dress, the navy one she'd worn the day she arrived. She thought about Sam, about the life they'd planned, about the future that was slipping away. Lord, she prayed, if you're listening, I need a miracle. Just one. Please. The courtroom was packed, every seat filled, people standing along the walls. The whole town turned out to watch. Judge Morrison presided. An old man with tired eyes and a reputation for fairness. The Whitfields sat in the front row, smug, confident. Sam sat behind Ellie. She felt his presence like a hand on her shoulder. The marshal presented the charges. Practicing medicine without a license. Negligence resulting in death. Fraud. The evidence was thin. Just the Whitfield statements. A few witnesses who'd never actually seen Ellie treat anyone. But it was enough to keep her locked up. Enough to destroy her reputation. The prosecutor called Jacob Whitfield to the stand. "Mr. Whitfield, you invited Miss Mercer to Silver Creek, I did." Jacob's voice was smooth. "I was looking for a wife. She represented herself as a respectable woman. And what happened when she arrived, I discovered she was not what she claimed." Jacob's eyes slid to Ellie. She was desperate, grasping. "When I broke off the engagement, she became vengeful." "That's a lie." Ellie rose before she could stop herself. "Order." Judge Morrison banged his gavel. "Miss Mercer, you'll have your chance to speak." Ellie sat. Her hands were shaking. "Continue, Mr. Whitfield." Jacob smiled. She wormed her way into Sam Thornton's home, used her feminine wiles to manipulate him. Then she convinced Dr. Shaw to take her on as an assistant. And when Shaw's heart gave out, she let him die, rather than admit she didn't know what she was doing. Murmurs rippled through the crowd. Ellie felt sick. Sam's hand touched her shoulder. Steady, warm. "The defense calls Miss Ellie Mercer." Ellie rose, walked to the stand, placed her hand on the Bible. "Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?" "I do." "Miss Mercer." Her lawyer, a tired-looking man Sam had hired from Billings, approached. "Tell us what really happened the night Dr. Shaw died." Ellie told them. Every detail. Shaw's confession about his heart. His insistence that she continue his work. The letter to the medical board. He knew he was dying, she said. He'd known for months. He told me himself that his heart was failing. He wanted to make sure someone would be here to care for the town after he was gone, and that someone was you. Yes. Ellie lifted her chin. He believed in me. He trusted me. He wrote a letter recommending me for a provisional license. Do you have that letter I do? Ellie pulled it from her pocket. The letter I sent to Helena was a copy. This is the original. She handed it to the judge. Morrison read it slowly. His expression shifted. This letter states that Dr. Shaw considered Miss Mercer the most capable medical practitioner he'd worked with in 30 years. That he believed she was fully qualified to continue his practice. That he was dying and wanted to ensure the territory had care after his death. The courtroom went silent. Your Honor, Jacob rose. That letter could be a forgery. There's no way to verify. The door burst open. A man strode in, middle-aged, well-dressed, carrying a leather satchel. I can verify it. Every head turned. I'm Dr. William Foster, the man announced. From the Montana Territory Medical Board. I received an urgent message 3 days ago regarding these proceedings. I've written here directly from Helena. He approached the bench. I knew Henry Shaw for 20 years, served with him on the board. I recognize his handwriting, his signature, his seal. Foster examined the letter. This is authentic. Shaw wrote this. And I can further testify that Shaw informed me of his heart condition 2 years ago. He knew he was dying. He'd been preparing for it. The courtroom erupted. Order Morrison banged his gavel. Order. When the room quieted, Foster continued. Furthermore, I've brought records from our office. Dr. Shaw filed regular reports on Miss Mercer's work. He documented every patient she treated, every procedure she performed. His notes are meticulous. He looked at Ellie. He believed you were extraordinary, Miss Mercer. His words, not mine. Ellie's vision blurred with tears. Morrison studied the documents Foster had provided. This changes things significantly, he said finally. The prosecution's case rests on the assumption that Miss Mercer caused or contributed to Dr. Shaw's death. These records indicate Shaw died of a pre-existing condition he'd been managing for years. He looked at the Whitfields. Do you have any evidence to the contrary? Reverend Whitfield's face was purple. He was a con artist. He was manipulated by that woman. She. Do you have evidence? Morrison interrupted. Or do you have accusations? Silence. Morrison banged his gavel. Case dismissed. Miss Mercer is free to go. The courtroom exploded. Sam was at Ellie's side in an instant, pulling her into his arms. You did it, he breathed. You did it. We did it. Ellie held him tight. All of us. Dr. Foster approached. Miss Mercer, I'd like to speak with you about your examination in Helena. Ellie wiped her eyes. Yes, of course. I've reviewed Shaw's notes, his assessments of your work. Foster's expression was serious but not unkind. Frankly, I came here expecting to find a fraud. What I found was something else entirely. What did you find? A healer. Foster extended his hand. The examination is still required, but based on what I've seen today, I believe you'll pass. Ellie shook his hand. Thank you, Dr. Foster. Don't thank me. Thank Henry Shaw. He staked his reputation on you. Foster glanced at the Whitfields who were being escorted out by the sheriff. It appears he was right to do so. The crowd pushed forward, people wanting to shake Ellie's hand. Congratulate her. Apologize for doubting her. Mary Patterson reached her first tears streaming down her face. I knew it, she said. I knew they couldn't break you. Tom Patterson clapped Sam on the shoulder. You've got yourself one hell of a woman, Thornton. I know. Sam's arm tightened around Ellie. Believe me, I know. Through the crowd, Ellie caught Constance Harwell's eye. The older woman nodded once, almost smiled. Then she turned and walked away. Agnes pushed through to Ellie's side. Well, she demanded. Are we still having a wedding tomorrow? Ellie looked at Sam. Looked at the people who'd stood by her. Looked at the future that had suddenly impossibly opened up again. Yes, she said. We're still having a wedding. Agnes burst into tears. About time, she sobbed. About damn time. Ellie laughed. The sound surprised her. Full. Free. She was getting married. She was going to Helena. She was going to become a doctor. And nothing, not the Whitfields, not the doubters, not even fate itself, was going to stop her. The wedding was held the next morning. Not in the church. Reverend Whitfield had locked the doors, declared the building closed until the town came to its senses. So they married in the schoolhouse instead. Every seat filled, people standing along the walls. More than had come to the trial. More than Ellie had ever dreamed would care. She wore a simple dress, cream-colored wool, that Agnes had been secretly sewing for weeks. Her hair was pinned with wildflowers that Mary Patterson had somehow found despite the late winter chill. Sam waited at the front of the room, clean-shaven, dressed in his best suit. His eyes never left her as she walked down the makeshift aisle. The Methodist circuit rider performed the ceremony. The same young man who'd buried Dr. Shaw. Dearly beloved, he began. We are gathered here today to witness the joining of two souls who have found each other against all odds. Ellie barely heard the words. She was looking at Sam. At the man who'd stopped for a freezing stranger on Christmas Eve, who'd driven her through a blizzard, who'd stood up in church and declared his love before the whole town, who'd never once made her feel like a burden. The vows came, simple, traditional. Do you, Samuel James Thornton, take this woman to be your lawfully wedded wife? I do. Sam's voice was steady. Certain. Do you? Eleanor Grace? Mercer, take this man to be your lawfully wedded husband? Ellie's throat tightened. Tears spilled over. I do. Sam slipped a ring onto her finger. Silver. Simple. Perfect. Then by the power vested in me, I pronounce you husband and wife. The young minister smiled. Mr. Thornton, you may kiss your bride. Sam pulled her close, kissed her softly, reverently, like she was something precious. The room erupted in applause. Ellie laughed against his lips. We did it. We did. Sam held her close. Mrs. Thornton. Mrs. Thornton. She tested the name. I like the sound of that. Get used to it. You're stuck with me now. Good. She kissed him again. I choose stuck. The celebration lasted all day. People brought food, music, laughter. The schoolhouse transformed into a dance hall. Ellie found herself passed from partner to partner, spinning and laughing and feeling lighter than she had in years. Tom Patterson taught her a reel. Mary insisted on showing off baby Eleanor to everyone who would look. Agnes wept happy tears and told anyone who'd listen that she'd known from the start those two were meant for each other. Even Constance Harwell appeared briefly. She didn't stay long, didn't dance, didn't smile, but she pressed a small package into Ellie's hands. "My mother's handkerchief," she said quietly. She carried it at her wedding. My daughter was supposed to carry it at hers. "Mrs. Harwell, I can't." "You can." Constance's eyes were fierce. "You're the daughter she should have been, the woman she might have become if the world hadn't broken her." She left before Ellie could respond. Ellie tucked the handkerchief into her bodice next to her heart. As the sun set, Sam pulled her away from the crowd. "Come with me." "Where are we going?" "Home." They rode back to the ranch in the gathering darkness. The house was lit up. Agnes had been busy. Candles in every window, fire in the hearth. Their bedroom now prepared with fresh flowers and clean linens. Sam carried her over the threshold. Ellie laughed. "You don't have to tradition." He set her down gently. "Besides, I've been waiting months to do that." They stood in the entryway looking at each other. "Hello, wife." Sam's voice was soft. "Hello, husband." He kissed her. Slower this time. Deeper. "I love you," he said. "I love you, and I'm going to spend the rest of my life proving it." Ellie pulled him closer. "Then start now." They walked upstairs together. The candles burned low. The fire crackled. Outside, snow began to fall. Inside, two people who'd found each other against all odds began their life together. And for one perfect night, the rest of the world disappeared. Helena came faster than expected. 1 week after the wedding, Ellie and Sam set out on the 3-day journey to the territorial capital. The roads were rough, the weather unpredictable, but they made good time. Doctor Foster had arranged for Ellie to stay with a colleague's family. Respectable. Proper. A married woman now, she had fewer whispers to contend with. The examination was scheduled for March 20th. 3 days to prepare. 3 days to review everything Shaw had taught her. 3 days to convince herself she was ready. The night before, Sam found her pacing in their borrowed room. "You're going to wear a hole in the floor." "I can't help it." Ellie's hands twisted together. "What if I fail? What if they ask something I don't know? What if you succeed?" Sam caught her hands. "What if you walk in there and prove that Henry Shaw was right about you?" Ellie's breath caught. "I'm scared." "I know." Sam pulled her close. "But I've seen you scared before. I've seen you scared and freezing on a train platform. I've seen you scared walking into a stranger's house to deliver a baby. I've seen you scared sitting in a jail cell waiting to find out if you'd ever be free." He tilted her chin up. "Every time you did the thing anyway. Every time you proved you were stronger than your fear. This is no different. This feels different. It's not." Sam kissed her forehead. "You're Ellie Thornton now. You've survived things that would break most people. You've built a life from nothing. You've earned the right to be in that room tomorrow. And if I fail, then you try again. And again. As many times as it takes." Sam's eyes held hers. "I'm not going anywhere. Neither are you." Ellie leaned into him. "I don't deserve you." "Yes, you do." Sam's voice was fierce. "You deserve everything good, Ellie. Everything. And I'm going to spend my life making sure you know it." She slept that night in his arms. When morning came, she was ready. The examination room was smaller than Ellie expected. A long table. 5 men seated behind it. Dr. Foster in the center. 4 others she didn't recognize. Gray-haired, serious. The entire Montana Territory Medical Board. She stood before them in her best dress. The cream one from her wedding. Her hands were steady. Her voice was clear. Mrs. Thornton." Foster corrected himself. Thank you for coming. We have reviewed Dr. Shaw's documentation of your work. We have questions. The examination lasted 4 hours. They asked about anatomy, physiology, pharmacology. They presented case studies and demanded diagnoses. They questioned her techniques, her training, her experience. Ellie answered everything. When she didn't know something, she said so. When she disagreed with their assumptions, she explained why. She cited Shaw's teachings, her own observations, the latest medical journals she'd studied. By hour 3, the men were leaning forward, engaged, interested. By hour 4, Foster was smiling. Mrs. Thornton. He set down his papers. One final question. Yes, sir. Why do you want to practice medicine? Ellie was quiet for a moment. Then she spoke. When I was 15, my mother died. Consumption. We couldn't afford a doctor. I watched her cough her life away in a farmhouse in Ohio, and there was nothing I could do. She met Foster's eyes. I promised myself then that I would learn, that I would become someone who could help. Not for money, not for prestige, but because no one should have to watch their mother die and feel helpless. She straightened her spine. I came to Montana to start a new life. I found something I didn't expect. A mentor who believed in me. A husband who supports me. A community that needs what I can offer. Her voice strengthened. I'm not asking for special treatment because I'm a woman. I'm asking for the chance to prove that gender doesn't determine capability. That skill and dedication matter more than tradition. That this territory deserves the best care possible, regardless of who provides it. The room was silent. Foster looked at his colleagues. Something passed between them. Nods. Quiet agreement. Mrs. Thornton Foster said finally, "Please step outside while we deliberate." Ellie walked out on steady legs. Sam was waiting in the hallway. How did it go? I don't know. Ellie's composure cracked. I think well, but I don't know. Sam pulled her into his arms. Whatever happens, I'm proud of you. They waited. 10 minutes felt like 10 years. Then the door opened. Mrs. Thornton. Foster's expression was unreadable. Please come back in. Ellie walked back to face the board. Her heart hammered. Her palms sweated. Every fear she'd ever had rose up to choke her. Foster stood. Mrs. Thornton, he said, it is the unanimous decision of this board to grant you a provisional medical license for the Montana Territory. Ellie's knees buckled. You will be required to submit quarterly reports on your practice. You will be subject to annual review. And you will be expected to continue your education through correspondence with certified physicians. Foster extended his hand. Congratulations, Dr. Thornton. You've earned this. Ellie shook his hand. Her voice wouldn't work. Tears streamed down her face. Thank you, she managed. Thank you. Don't thank us. Foster smiled. Thank Henry Shaw. He was right about you. Ellie walked out of that room different than she'd walked in. Not just a woman, not just a wife, a doctor. Sam swept her into his arms the moment she appeared. Well, I passed. Ellie laughed through her tears. I passed. I'm a doctor. Sam spun her around, kissed her hard. I knew it. I knew you could do it. They stood in that hallway holding each other, and for one perfect moment, everything Ellie had suffered seemed worth it. Every loss, every betrayal, every frozen night and hungry morning. It had all led here, to this man, this life, this future. And she wouldn't trade any of it. The return to Silver Creek was triumphant. Word had traveled ahead of them. By the time Sam and Ellie rode into town, a crowd had gathered. Mary Patterson was at the front, baby Eleanor in her arms. Dr. Thornton, she called out. Has a nice ring to it, don't you think? Ellie laughed. I'm still getting used to it. Get used to it fast. Tom Patterson stepped forward. My sister-in-law's expecting. She's been waiting for you to get back. And Mrs. Henderson's arthritis is acting up again. Someone else called. And old Mr. Porter needs his heart medicine adjusted. Ellie looked at Sam. Looks like I've got work to do. Looks like it. Sam kissed her cheek. Go. I'll take care of the horses. She slid down from her mount. The crowd parted to let her through. For the next 6 hours, Ellie treated patients. She examined Mrs. Henderson's joints and prescribed a new tonic. She adjusted Mr. Porter's medication. She visited Tom's sister-in-law and confirmed the pregnancy was progressing well. She worked until her legs ached and her eyes burned and her hands trembled from exhaustion. And she'd never been happier. That night she returned to the ranch to find Sam waiting on the porch. Long day. The best kind. Ellie sank into the chair beside him. I helped people, Sam. Real people with real problems. And they trusted me to do it. Of course they did. Sam took her hand. You're Dr. Thornton now. The only doctor in 50 miles. The only doctor. Ellie shook her head. I still can't believe it. Believe it. Sam pulled her close. You've earned everything you have. Everything. They sat together as the stars came out. Ellie thought about the road that had brought her here. The platform on Christmas Eve. The dying lamp. The stranger who'd stopped when no one else would. Thank you, she said quietly. For what? For finding me. For stopping. For not giving up on me even when I wanted to give up on myself. Sam was quiet for a moment. You know what I was thinking that night when I saw you on the platform? What I was thinking that I'd spent 8 years feeling sorry for myself. 8 years hiding from the world because one woman hurt me. And there you were abandoned and freezing, and you still had more fight in you than I'd had in almost a decade. He turned to face her. You didn't just save yourself that night, Ellie. You saved me too. You reminded me what courage looks like, what hope looks like, what love looks like when it's real. Ellie's eyes burned. We saved each other. Yes. Sam kissed her softly. We did. They went inside together. The fire was warm. The house was quiet. Agnes had left supper on the stove and retired early. For the first time in months, Ellie felt completely at peace. She was home. She was loved. She was exactly where she was supposed to be. Spring came early that year. The snow melted, the roads cleared. The world turned green and hopeful. Ellie's practice grew. Patients came from miles away, drawn by word of mouth and desperation, and the simple fact that she was there when no one else was. She delivered 12 babies in the first month, treated fevers and broken bones and ailments she'd only read about in textbooks. She learned as she worked, grew stronger with each challenge. Sam supported her through all of it. Drove her to distant ranches. Held her when she lost patients. Celebrated when she saved them. They built a life together. Solid. Real. And then one April morning, Ellie woke up sick. Not fever sick. Not injury sick. Different. She sat on the edge of the bed, hand pressed to her stomach, and counted backward. Sam found her there still and pale. Ellie. What's wrong? Nothing's wrong. Ellie's voice was strange. Distant. Nothing's wrong at all. You're scaring me. She looked up at him. Tears in her eyes. A smile breaking across her face. Sam. I think I'm pregnant. The silence lasted 3 heartbeats. Then Sam dropped to his knees in front of her. Say that again. I'm pregnant. Ellie laughed. At least I think I am. The signs are there. I should know for certain in a few weeks. Sam's hands trembled as they covered hers. A baby, he breathed. We're having a baby. We're having a baby. He pulled her into his arms, held her so tight she could barely breathe. I love you, he said, voice cracking. I love you so much. I love you too. They stayed there holding each other as the morning light filled the room. A new life. A new beginning. Everything Ellie had lost. Everything she'd suffered. Everything she'd survived. It had all led to this. This man. This home. This future growing inside her. And she knew with absolute certainty that it was only the beginning. The news spread through Silver Creek like wildfire. Dr. Thornton was expecting. The woman who'd arrived freezing and alone on Christmas Eve was going to be a mother. People who'd once whispered about her now brought gifts. Baby clothes. Quilts. Offers of help. Even Constance Harwell appeared at the ranch one afternoon, a package in her hands. For the baby, she said stiffly. My daughter made it. Before she left, it was a christening gown. Delicate. Beautiful. Mrs. Harwell. Ellie began. Don't. Constance's voice was rough. Just take it. Give your child what mine never got. She left before Ellie could respond. But something had changed in her eyes. Something softer. Something like healing. Summer brought more changes. Tom Patterson's sister-in-law delivered a healthy boy. Ellie guided her through every step. The Hendersons' youngest son broke his arm falling from a horse. Ellie said it perfectly. Old Mr. Porter finally admitted that his heart was failing. Ellie held his hand while he made peace with it. She worked until her pregnancy made it difficult. Then she trained Mary Patterson to assist her. The young mother proved to be a natural. You're good at this, Ellie told her one afternoon. Have you ever thought about becoming a midwife? Mary's eyes widened. Me? I'm just a rancher's wife. I was just a farmer's daughter. Ellie smiled. Look where I ended up. Mary was quiet for a moment. You really think I could do it? I think you could do anything you set your mind to. Ellie took her hand. That's the thing about this territory, Mary. It doesn't care who you were. It only cares who you're willing to become. Mary left that day with a stack of medical texts under her arm. 2 years later, she would deliver her first baby on her own. But that's a story for another time. Autumn arrived with golden leaves and cool nights. Ellie was huge now, 8 months along. She waddled more than walked. Sam hovered constantly, terrified something would go wrong. I've delivered 100 babies, she told him. I know what I'm doing. That doesn't help. Sam paced the bedroom. Those were other people's babies. This is our baby. Our baby will be fine. How do you know? Because I refuse to accept any other outcome. Ellie caught his hand. Sit down before you wear a hole in the floor. Sam sat. He didn't stop worrying, but he was there. Every moment, every day. And that was what mattered. The baby came on a November night. Snow fell outside. Wind howled. The house creaked and groaned. Ellie labored for 18 hours. Mary Patterson assisted. Agnes boiled water and wrung her hands. Sam held Ellie's hand and told her she was the strongest person he'd ever known. At 3 a.m, a cry split the air. A boy. Mary's voice shook with joy. A healthy boy. She placed the baby in Ellie's arms. He was tiny, red-faced, furious at being dragged into the world. He was perfect. Sam sank to his knees beside the bed. Ellie, he breathed. Look at him. I'm looking. Tears streamed down her face. I can't stop looking. He's beautiful. He's ours. Sam touched his son's tiny hand. The infant's fingers curled around his. What should we name him? Ellie had known the answer for months. Henry, she said. Henry Samuel Thornton. For the man who believed in me, and for the man who saved me. Sam's eyes glistened. Henry, he repeated. It's perfect. They sat together, the three of them, as dawn broke outside. A new family. A new beginning. A life built from ashes and loss and stubborn, relentless hope. The years that followed were good ones. Not easy. Life in Montana Territory was never easy. There were hard winters and failed crops and patience Ellie couldn't save. But there was also joy. Henry grew tall and strong with his father's dark eyes and his mother's stubborn chin. He loved horses and books and trailing after his mother while she made rounds. A daughter followed 2 years later. Margaret called Maggie with red hair that came from somewhere in Ellie's family tree. She was fierce and wild and determined to become a doctor like her mother. Sam's ranch prospered. The Thornton name became synonymous with integrity and hard work. Ellie's practice expanded. She trained 3 more midwives, established a small clinic in town, fought for and won the right for women to study medicine at the new Territorial University. The Whitfields left Silver Creek the year after Ellie's trial. Jacob's General Store failed. Reverend Whitfield's congregation dwindled to nothing. They moved east bitter and broken and were never heard from again. Constance Harwell became an unexpected ally. She funded the clinic's expansion, advocated for women's education, even reconciled with her daughter who returned to Silver Creek with a husband and 2 children of her own. Agnes lived to see both of Ellie's children born. She died peacefully in her sleep at 83, with Ellie holding one hand and Sam holding the other. They buried her beside the Thornton family plot. The headstone read, Agnes McAllister, beloved mother to many. She never gave up on love. Years passed. Children grew, the world changed. And through it all, Sam and Ellie remained. On their 25th wedding anniversary, they stood on the porch of the house where it had all begun. The sun was setting. The land stretched out before them golden and peaceful. Do you ever think about it? Ellie asked. That night you found me every day. Sam's arm tightened around her. I think about how close I came to just riding past. How easily I could have convinced myself it wasn't my problem. Why didn't you? Sam was quiet for a moment. Because I saw myself in you, he said finally. Alone. Abandoned. Freezing. And I knew if I left you there, I'd never be able to live with myself. Ellie leaned into him. You saved my life that night. No. Sam kissed her temple. I just gave you a place to land. You saved yourself. They stood together as the stars came out. The same stars that had watched over a frozen depot on Christmas Eve 25 years ago. The same stars that had witnessed a woman fall to her knees in the snow, clutching a letter of betrayal. The same stars that had seen a stranger stop. Reach out. Offer mercy when no one else would. I love you, Sam said. More today than the day I married you. More than I have words for. Ellie turned to face him. This man who'd been her salvation, her partner, her home. I love you too, she said. And I will keep loving you until the stars fall from the sky. They kissed as the night deepened around them. Inside the house their children laughed. Their grandchildren would follow. Generations yet to come. All because one man stopped on Christmas Eve. All because one woman refused to give up. They walked back inside together hand in hand and closed the door on the cold. The lamp in the window burned on. A beacon in the darkness. A promise kept. A reminder that mercy still exists, that love still wins, that second chances are real for those brave enough to take them. Ellie Mercer had arrived in Silver Creek with nothing but a broken heart and a carpet bag. She left behind a legacy that would last for generations. Doctor, wife, mother, pioneer. A woman who refused to be defined by what was done to her. A woman who chose every single day to become more. And somewhere in whatever comes after, Henry Shaw smiled. He'd known all along. Some people are born to heal the world. Ellie Thornton was one of them.